Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Reading Roll, y'all. I'm Dr. Shay Parton, and in this week's episode, I'll be thinking aloud about some approaches that I might take to teaching Carly Heath's The Reckless Kind. This book is unique in this collection so far because of its international and historical setting. It seems to me that Heath worked very hard to make sure that the experiences of the characters were true to both of those things, the place setting and the time setting. And I imagine that there was a ton of research that went into making that happen. Research writing is always in the standards, no matter what variety your school follows. So I think that connecting this book and the process of making it to the research process would be a really cool idea. Students could choose aspects of the novel that spoke to them and that piqued their curiosity and do research projects around those. There are so many things in this book that I'd really like to learn more about, and I kept a list as I was reading, so it might be helpful to preface students' reading of the book with that, to keep a list of things that they're curious about in their readers' notebooks. So here's my list. How has farriery changed across time? What did the work used to look like, and what does it look like now? Who and how was medicine practiced? So who practiced medicine and how was medicine practiced in my tiny hometown around the same time period? Were there any big festivals or races that took place in Gaston, my hometown, at the turn of the century? Or in Tipton, the tiny town my parents come from? What was life like for folks that lived back then? And when and how did we discover genetic disorders, and how has the way folks with disabilities changed or not across time? And then finally, who can I talk to that still lives in Gaston, my hometown, or Tipton, my parents' hometown, that might be able to tell me stories of stories they heard about what it was like to grow up or live in Gaston or Tipton at the turn of the century? How are those stories similar to and different from what it's like to live there today? And what does that say about how much we've progressed? What changes still need to be made? And how can I be a part of those changes? How can I be a part of making those changes happen? After students come up with the topics and questions that would drive their research, they would embark upon projects that help them find answers to their questions. During this time, I would deliver many lessons that would guide students throughout the process, like how to write research questions, how to collect data, what can analysis look like, what makes a good presentation, etc. Then they would present their findings and implications of what they had learned to the class, and hopefully some kind of public forum with stakeholders in attendance, whether that was like some sort of research exhibition that happened at the school library or the community library, or some sort of, in this time of COVID, some sort of digital exhibition where stakeholders could come and still interact around students' presentations. I just think it would be really neat to involve the community in knowing what students learned and what students found through their research. The essential question for this project would be, where have we been? Where have we gotten to? And where do we need to get next? Which I feel like is sort of the essential question of Heath's novel. And so in that, the lesson and project sort of mirror the major questions that she's also asking herself and her readers through the writing of The Reckless Kind. So that's it for this time. Be sure to check out Heath's author talk that also dropped today, and stay tuned because next week we begin a new series on Peter Brown Hoffmeister's Too Shattered for Mending. It's another good one. So y'all come back now, would you?